All right, finally back at it here again. Just got done going over the entire engine, running the tap and all of the threads on all the holes that we need to use for bolts, including down here for the crank sensor, But, okay, where we're really at is, let's spin this thing around here. I'm actually getting ready to, I've got the oil pressure sending unit. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can. I just got the oil pressure sending unit installed. I'm going to work on getting the rest of the block offs on. We're going to get the exhaust manifold on, which I have right here. AGP log. Like I said, this thing was pretty much new. It was only on for a couple hours, but bare metal does rust pretty quick. So we have that. We have all of our bolts, our studs, because you need one here, here, and here, and two go on the bottom. So they have a little Allen head in them, and you just thread them in. All right, and then they have nuts. I have the Mopar exhaust manifold gasket I'm going to be installing. When I put my exhaust bolts in, I always put this on. This works for me. It's good up to 650 degrees. Silicone on these threads will work similar to Loctite. It won't let the bolt vibrate loose, and it will not let it get stuck in the head. Corrosion forms between steel and aluminum sometimes. So, with that being said, we're going to apply this onto our threads. We're going to install our brand new Mopar gasket. Let's take a look at this thing. Fresh out of the package. Mopar definitely knows how to package their stuff right. So, ta-da! That is the gasket you want to use on a turbo car. Alright? So it says manifold side. So this will go this way, just like that, onto the cylinder head. If I'm looking at this right, it actually looks like the holes on here are smaller than what's on the cylinder head. So let's see what we got here. Doesn't really matter. I don't know. Let's see here. Line this up. It's just something I never checked. You know what I mean? Usually I put together stock stuff. Man, very, very little difference on the edges. It's not going to be enough to matter. So, that's where we're at. I'm going to get the exhaust manifold on. These are the M1015. Is all the big bolts. They're the ones that hold all the brackets together. Your smaller one here is for the threads that hold this on and the crank trigger, which we're going to get that installed here also. But we got our line over here. We're going to get this old one pulled out. I'm going to pull this one out. I'm going to reseal all that stuff so I know that it's right. We got a clutch to install on this thing once we get this other stuff done. We're deleting the cooler. So we are just going to be putting the filter housing onto this engine, so there won't be any coolant running down through there. So we're going to be blocking those hoses off. On the metal lines, I actually have them sitting over here on the floor, so I got to get those cleaned up and get them ready. It kind of sucks. I'm not switching everything directly off of another motor, so we have this mess of stuff here. And I do have a lot more bolts and brackets out in the car, so I'll be having to dig them out. Alright, busy tightening up some of the last bolts here for this. All the nuts have those little locks on that AGP sends with their kits. So I just got to finish that, getting them on, and then bend them around to where they got to be. Alright, I have a little bit of grease on my finger. I'm just putting that onto the O-ring here. We're going to slide in our brand new Mopar crank sensor. Bolt it in. So we're going to do the same for this. Just going to put a little bit of grease on this O-ring. Then we'll get it installed. Here's our two bolts here for that. Just like that. Just checking my threads, even though I have all these tapped. That's why there's this dust now on here. I'm cleaning out all these threads on all these holes. Because once that's in, then I can get the power steering bracket that's supposed to go here can go on. I won't put this alternator bracket on until it's actually down in, because this gets in the way when you drop it down in the motor. And then I think I got to do a couple things on the back side, and we're really close to getting our clutch bolted on. All right, seems to be a pretty long night here. A little dark out. We got the coolant pipe in. I still need to find one bolt for that. Everything else is so far is good. I got some of these fittings here figured out. I'm going to reseal this one here yet. And everything's blocked off. Yeah, and the manifold's on. And I got one of these all nice and cleaned up. I still need to pull one of these alignment dowels off of another block because it was missing out of this one. Then I can get everything tightened up. But what we're doing here is I was going to work on getting everything opened up. Okay, so we have our ARP bolts, which are new. New flywheel, new pressure plate, new disc, new alignment tool, and we're going to get this thing figured out. This right here, I usually clean this out really nice in the crank, and I put that in with a little bit of silicone within hopes in case you have to take it apart, it's still okay, because this thing will bounce around in there and it just wears away over time. But if you silicone it, hopefully it stays in. I haven't taken any of the ones apart that I've siliconed in just as of yet, but hopefully if someone needs to, or I end up taking this apart, this center piece will still be good, and I won't have to buy another one of these just for this little piece. So we're gonna get everything opened up. Basically, all right, this stuff's oiled, so we'll have to clean that off with some brake clean, both of these surfaces here. Yeah, we're gonna get this installed. We're gonna look up our torque specs in our instructions and get all this stuff together, and we're gonna get our AGP fork installed with our new throwout bearing. Specified, they say to rinse this off with some brake cleaner. Remove any of the oil that's on there. We have the flywheel is already torqued down, it's nice and tight. So we're working on getting our disc opened up right here. Alright, get this done out of the way. Alright, they give you this to put on the it's like a lubricant that you actually put on the splines right here. It's funny, this thing's been sitting for quite some time. It's actually starting to get a little bit of wear on there, or rust on the center. So we're going to install that. We'll get that on. Basically, since you now have that center on, this will go through that, and then you'll hold it this way, right like that, and then you'll install your pressure plate with the bolts, which I have to get that opened up. Here. Alright, so here's our bolts. These look like they're 10 mil. I think I already have one of those laying over here. This one's nice and tight. They put those push clips through there with washers on. Sometimes they're a little tough to get out. Sometimes they're not. But still a good way to pack it. keep it in the cardboard. I got one over here on this side. Just kind of get underneath of it. Cut it through. Top it off. Alright. So, here we go. Here's the part number for that. For the pressure plate. That's actually the whole kit. There's the part number, I guess, for the pressure plate. Heavy duty. Heavy duty pressure plate. There's our pressure. There's our surface. Got a couple spots coming started. But this here, you want to rinse this off also with some brake cleaner. Just the clutch surface. Alright. Rinse it off good. I mean, a little bit of this doesn't hurt. Alright, now we got that cleaned off. I always like to do this too, so I just kind of hit my surface area. That way I know we're 100%, we don't have no oil on them. You know, it will burn off too. Also, okay. Easy enough here for this stuff. Open that up. I only noticed that they started putting this stuff in here pretty recently. I'm wondering if it actually helps. So, it's pretty easy, just squirt it on there. Alright, I'm just gonna use my finger, get it down in between the splines here. Try to get it evenly around. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? I'll just wipe my finger off then. Okay, there we go. Alright, like I said, just take your alignment tool, put it in there. This holds this in place. These pretty much go on one way also, just like the flywheel does. Okay. It's so much easier when it's not in the car. So, there we go. Alright. Brand new clutch installed. Here's our bolts. Usually, I mean, I don't worry about putting any Loctite on these. I've never had any problems. You always want to make sure that you use some blue Loctite. I did find out that sometimes this stuff does have an expiration date on it, so you want to use it, you know, make sure it's not expired, which is why you usually buy that in the smaller packs, but I buy the big packs because I go through it pretty quick. Well, here we go. Let's get this thing made it up. Oops, gotta go over just a little bit there. And just a little bit there. It's on such a weird angle. This is why it's so tough to get them lined up when they're in the car. This is like the worst part of this whole car. Getting the transmission lined up on these clutches. It's terrible. Alright, but anyway. I've got two bolts. One for here. One for here. And then I'm calling this engine trans completion done for the day. Just a little quick update. I don't know how long this is going to be. I don't really like to draw this stuff out too long. This is kind of just showing what I've got done on the car so far. Kind of giving me a record of what parts I have on it. You know, different things like that. The new crank sensor, the new oil sensor, how we got everything sealed. The manifold, the AGP manifold's on. Slowly getting everything together. Once this is on, I can get the intermediate axle. I can get the alternator brackets. All that stuff can be put on. Yeah. I got one bolt I got to put in the front. I can get the lower brackets on the transmission done. I can get them cleaned up and assembled. I have some gray brackets that are powder coated, which will look pretty good on this. We'll get them installed. You know, just like kind of one step at a time. Yeah, this thing's gonna look good. So until the next video, guys, see ya.